Recording in progress.
Hey, everyone.
What time? 6:00 on the dot. I call this RMLD Board of the Commissioners and Board of CAB joint meeting into order.
Yeah, I call the cabinet.
Excellent. All right. The RMLD Board of Commissioners recognizes the importance of hearing public comments at the discretion of the chair on items on the official agenda. Once recognized by the chair, all persons addressing the board shall state their name and address prior to speaking. It's the role of the chair to maintain order in all public comment or ensuing discussion. Just one comment. I am sitting in for Chair Daskalaskis as she is traveling at the moment. Looks like maybe on Southwest with the red background. I don't know. Kind of guess.
Not quite yet. Not quite at the airport yet, but I'll be there soon. Thank you for that. I appreciate it, Bob.
So if I could please ask, other than Pam, are there any other members participating remotely? Does not appear. Okay. We'll hand it over. You're in. You don't have anything? Any? Okay. All right. Seeing no one in the lobby, we will have no public comment unless there's somebody in the room who would like to speak. There is none. Any reports from the liaisons to the boards? Seeing none, there is none. Committee updates? There are no committees. There is none. Wow, fast. Pam, watch.
What's your trick?
I got lots of.
All right. Woo!
You're now in charge all the time.
Yeah.
Love this meeting.
All right. All right. And all right. So then we'll move on to item number 6, E&E update. Dave Kavanaugh, thank you very much for attending and taking the time to come see us.
Great. Thank you for having me here, and I'll get the presentation up and we'll go through E&E transmission. Excellent. Again, thanks for having me here to talk about the E&E transmission. Dave Kavanaugh, I'm the Senior VP of Regulatory and Market Affairs at Energy New England. I also serve as the Executive Director for E&E transmission, basically the only employee in E&E. As E&E was formed as a limited liability company in Massachusetts under Massachusetts General Law 164-47C as a co-op. It was formed to provide a structure for member municipal light plants to participate and pursue joint ownership in regional transmission projects. As you may know, in this region, it's the incumbent transmission developers that have access to transmission projects. There's been one RFP. There's two. There's one that's underway. There's one previously for the Boston upgrades, and that was awarded to, I believe, Eversource, like $49 million. Public Power has always looked to try to get a foothold into regional transmission projects. Some entities have them. We have a number of folks that work with E&T that are transmission owners, including RMLD, and they're smaller segments. They're not bigger transmission pieces. CTMEC ended up with some transmission based on the negotiation of NU, Northeast Utilities, and NSTAR forming. It was part of the deal there that some transmission ran through their area and they ended up with a piece. And of course, if you look at the original structure of how the Vermont utilities were formed in Velco, by definition, the utilities in Vermont have ownership through Velco because Velco is jointly owned. But other than that, there's really limited opportunities for Public Power to have access to owning transmission. It's been a policy level at the APPA level, and as well as NEPA has been looking for that as well. So E&E is managed by E&E LLC through myself and John. It has a service agreement, basically describes what we do in terms of running the organization. It has a chair that is appointed by E&E and is governed by its board of directors. The board of directors is composed of Class A members. Those are members that can contributed to the startup capital to get ENT up and running. And they also can participate in transmission projects. And please do stop me at any time. So if you think about why would you have ENT, why would you form this entity? Well, the municipal light plants are facing known and escalating transmission costs and that are projected significant additional costs related to state policy objectives. So right now we have underway within New England the longer term transmission planning RFP. And that is an RFP that was closed on the last day of September at 11 p.m. And parties had to submit their desired participation proposals. There'll be a year evaluation, but that's really to unlock the northern regions of Maine and bring clean energy down into the load center. So that's underway right now. So there's been a couple RFPs. We're structured to help try to get participate in those. Again, when you look at what's going on here, the municipal light plants are charged regional network service. The cost for their using the transmission system. You all see that on your regional RNS bill, and many municipal light systems, including Reading, have made behind the meter investments to help peak shade to avoid some of those costs, as the revenue stacking for those resources is very beneficial. Costs are paid to the transmission owners, such as Eversource, National Grid, and on a very small percentage basis to some MLPs and co-ops. As I mentioned, Reading, Braintree, Norwood, Middleborough, CTMAC, some of the Belco folks, MWEC to an extent has some as well, small percentage. They have a little piece of Seabrook substation, but very small percentage on basis. They do get some revenues from that. But let's talk about really what we're facing here. If you look at the history of RNS rates, and we go back to, let's say, 2012, and it was $75.25 a kW a year, and you can see it steadily rising. And you can see right now in 2024, it was 185.28 a kW a year, and it dropped down a little bit because there was a bit of a true up from the previous year to 184. But the forward projection, as you can see, it's projected to go to 186, then 197, 217, and 220 out in the forward years. That's a pretty good rate of change when you look at the overall cost. And you're up to, if you follow it right now to 26, you're at $15.30 a kW a month. Relate that to the capacity market that's trading at around $3.85 a month. So it's multiples of the capacity market. So, when you look at the region, the transmission build is in support of reliability requirements. When they run what's called a needs analysis study as they're required as the regional transmission planner. They identify thermal overloads generally on the system, go into solution study, and then they're generally less than 3 years within the date of need. So they go back to the IOUs and they build them, and that becomes a cost for the region. But what we are seeing is what's happening over the last couple of years and projected forward is going to be the main driver for costs in the region is going to be what's called asset condition upgrades. The system has a lot of older infrastructure. Laminated wood poles, systems that are over 100 years old. And what we're seeing is about a little over $1 billion a year is just from asset condition upgrades. It is 70% of the annual bill right now. And that doesn't change going forward. The current projections, I've looked out 5 years, it's still like $1.3 billion a year as they replace wooden poles, lattice structures, spalling, cement areas. They have to refurbish those conditions. And those are what are feeding our current rate. So again, the rates are good utility practice. These facilities are being upgraded to have a reliable transmission system, but nonetheless, every year you're adding another $1 billion a year onto that. So, the ISO has been doing a lot of studies, and particularly at the request of the state and some scenario analysis. And they produced the 2050 transmission study, which identifies potential future transmission requirements. The new transmission projects are the results of multiple scenario analysis, different loads, different supply mix, and different areas of the system. And it also looks at economy-wide electrification, the increased loads and locations, and the type and future generation that drive the transmission requirements. If you look at this with the zero font, You can see 2035, we start to become a winter peaking system with a 35 gigawatt load. And if you stack the projected, what's called high likelihood concerned areas, the areas on the system that really have a high probability to be required to be upgraded or built out, you come up with about $6 to $9 billion at a 35 gigawatt winter load. Fast forward to 2040, you're at 43 gigawatt, and you have a price of 11 to 13 billion. Move out to 2050, if you have a 51 gigawatt build out, you're between 16 and 17 additional dollars, billions of dollars added to transmission rate. We're at about 13 billion right now, rate base. You're going to double it in that time frame. Worst case scenario, and I think the curves will come off for electrification on an economy-wide basis. You could get to a winter 57 gigawatt, and you're at 23 to 26 billion dollars of additional cost in the transmission base. Yes, Vivek.
So you've shown information here for, I think these are different distribution lines.
These are different regions of the system. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So is this, do our transmission costs get determined by ISO New England, or do they get determined by the transmission line, ISO New England as a whole, or by the particular distribution line that is used?
Great question. I should not assume people understand how the transmission costs are derived. So it's a regional transmission cost, right? So at the end of over the course of a year, all the transmission owners put their revenue requirements together, what they need to recover through the rate of return. It's one big pile. They stack it up, and then they divide it by the expected future load, and that becomes your rate. So whatever these projects would be, let's say they're all going to be R&S projects. They're pooled transmission facilities. It is these areas that are aggregated into the total annual revenue requirement of all transmission providers, and that is spread out over all network load in the region.
So the network is all of ISO New England, or is it for our region?
It is all of ISO New England for the R&S. Then there's LNS, local network service, and you'll have your PTF connect. You might have some local network service, and that's for the things that aren't recovered through R&S and that are more on the if a community decided they wanted to bury the transmission as an alternative to overhead, it could be ruled that that's a local cost because otherwise could have been suspended as an overhead. But that is LNS that's paid for that local region. But as a practical matter, all the issues here are recovered for a system-wide cost for all regions of the system.
So the stability of ISO New England as a whole is considered like a common good.
That is correct.
So you're trying to keep that common good being.
That is correct. As a regional system planner, they have to meet all the requirements for their balancing authority and reliability authority. And so it is that very reason, as you said, it's the common good, that the total cost of all the transmission is summed and then allocated, not an elegant term, like peanut butter over everybody that's paying the bill across all 6 states. That is correct. Yep. So here we have, these are the 2050 transmission study. We can argue that these curves have come off a bit. The adoption rates are off, so we wouldn't expect to see some of these numbers, but nonetheless, the cost of transmission continues to march forward. So ENET provides an opportunity. It provides the ENET participants an ability to hedge those costs, those unavoidable transmission costs. You can't avoid them unless you put in behind the meter resources and you're effective at clipping your peaks. Then you can remove some of those cost exposures. But here we have an ability to participate in projects. We receive the annual rate of return on equity, and that comes back to you as a project owner, and then that can be used as a owner in ENET. That flows back to you, and then you do with it as you wish in terms of how you fit that into your revenue structure and affect your rates. So really, ENET is providing an opportunity for municipal light plant participation in regional transmission projects, which receive the federal approved rate of return. And it's really a hedge, much like you hedge your energy supply. It's the same thing. This is another hedge to help avoid or lessen the impact of some of those costs.
Are these costs borne by the federal government all or just by the regionals?
The federal, under, what happens is, there's an open access transmission tariff. There's a tariff. And that tariff,
Bad word now.
setting aside the other meetings that can be derived from that, there's a number of tariffs in New England for the markets, but there's the open access transmission tariff, which stipulates how you can build projects, what is recoverable, and also determines the rate. And that is approved by the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. So the rate is like 10.51 and it has an adder of 5.5 something. It comes out to 11.07 is the federally approved rate of return for regional transmission projects. Yep. And so that's for every year, and then January of this year, your new rate picks up. And it would have been this last summer, I would have circulated what those rates look like. And then there is a full sunshine process, if you will, that this is all the materials presented. It can be challenged at the commission. The financials are available on the ISO website. Each transmission owner must present their information. And then it's basically a math formula that says, okay, all these numbers in here comes down to, here's the total revenue requirement. Here's the expected load of that year. Divide those, and here comes your rate, 184 kW years. Expected will be the rate. Now you go through the year, the loads might be a little different. You might have a true up requirement because you had less load, or you might have more load, and it's an adjustment that's made on a continual basis, but it's relatively minor relative to the rate itself. Yes, sir.
So
Yes.
you're talking, if you're saying $20 billion over the next 20 years, 11% of that is open for profit. But
It's a great question because not our return on equity, right? So there's like maybe a 60-40 debt equity ratio. So the debt is recovered plus your debt service. It does not get the 11% rate of return. It's the equity piece that gets the rate of return. So you have $12 billion in the ground right now of transmission. Projections are, depending on what we see for loads and requirements, well, we know at least $1 billion a year is coming.
Mhm.
It is depend how those projects are financed. If it's again, 50-50, 60-40, 80-10, only the equity piece gets that return.
Could you just give us a sense, because I'm looking at this and I also discussed this with you earlier, like help us understand what's the economics for us, right?
That's a great question.
So just broadly, I know you can't go into specifics, but
No, it's a great question.
right? So just help us imagine. So we have funded the startup, right? We funded the creation of ENET,
That's correct.
and then help us imagine what cash flow do you need from us going forward, and when would we likely get returns?
Which is why I asked him to come tonight.
Great questions. Probably want to talk about cash flows and executive.
Yeah, no, so no. So,
But as a high level,
exactly. So
it's a high level.
yeah.
Let's whatever equity you put into the project, right? You would get back that equity on a rate of return of 11.07%. That's the current rate. So once the project's commercial, your equity is returned with 11.07% rate of return. It does have a depreciation formula over time. Each year is depreciating, and so the equity piece starts to drop a little bit. But over time, you get your rate of return. It's 11.07%. That every month, once you get commercial and your revenue requirement is captured in the annual revenue requirement that is submitted to the FERC, every month you would receive money that flows back to RMLD for their share of participation in the project. And then you would do what you wish with that. Now, if the project had a certain percentage of debt and equity, then there'd be a piece that would be debt service, right? And then the rest would be equity or rate of return. So at the end, it's a hedge against the cost you're going to be charged anyways. So let's presume you took let's go 5% debt position, and you're getting 11% rate of return. You're 6% to the good on your cash flows, on your equity piece. Does that help?
A related Follow-up question to Vivek. So this requires us issuing a bond, which
It
is
may-
really what the town means going to town meeting and asking for approval to issue a bond and explaining all this to town meeting.
It's a great question. May not. So, you're a participant you are now currently a participant in the Hydro-Quebec Phase 1, Phase 2 project. You've been for 20 years. You're on for another 20 years. You're actually, it's a public document. You're actually an equity sponsor, and you had a cash call last year. Depending on the cash flow requirements of a project we're in, you could put cash. You say, hey,
It's free cash, like,
Right.
yeah.
If you don't, then ENET would bond as an entity. And then we would charge you that fee for the bonding as we go forward. That's where we're talking to bond counsel now, how we would structure that if we get into a project. But at the end of the day, your experiences with you have right now is your Phase 1, Phase 2 participation. You had a cash call last September. You'll have more coming for the projects that are going on there. And it might fully fit within your cash available such that it's all equity to you. Or we can have a discussion at the ENET board level, depending on the size of the project, who wants to do, how much bonding do you want us to do? And what your bonding, debt equity structure, how much you want to put in cash. If you look at your cash flows over a 7-year period, say, hey, we think we can do X% cash. Let's just do that. And we'll want you, ENET, as a total to bond this, and our part is this piece.
So can anybody do, do MLPs have an ability to do this kind of financial transaction, or can any entity do this? Could a private equity firm do what you're describing?
Eligibility, I think, is who is eligible to bid. Because I'm sure it's exclusive up to a certain point, or am I
So-
incorrect?
So for an RFP, a qualified transmission project sponsor, effectively known as a Q-tip, is the only entity that is qualified to participate in an RFP for bid submission. It doesn't mean that they can't partner with other entities underneath that to provide cash or whatever and still get that same rate of return. But there's only one entity, a Q-tip, that can participate and directly bid on the RFP. We have 4 entities within ENET that are qualified transmission project sponsors, but ENET collectively, even though we have 6 others that are not, could come in as a partner, strategic partner in an RFP and still put cash into the project and get that same rate of return through probably a special purpose entity that is a qualified transmission project sponsor that if they win the award, we can flow that through them.
So is ENE or ENET the Q-tip?
ENET, that's a good question. ENET is the entity.
Right.
ENET is not a qualified transmission project sponsor. We have members that are, but we are not qualified at this point as a transmission project sponsor. It doesn't prohibit us from partnering with other entities to participate in an RFP.
So
They would submit under their,
We're not qualified. RMLD is not a qualified.
you are not,
transmission sponsor.
you are not. Yep.
So ENET is the vehicle to participate.
ENET is a vehicle to take the collective weight of right now 10 entities to have to participate in a project. That's correct.
But you still have to partner with a qualified transmission.
We do. We could have one of our members do it and we can participate all underneath them, or we can participate with other qualified transmission project sponsors as a as a partner.
Dave, all this is good,
Yeah.
but if we get into real numbers, right?
Yeah.
What would MLPs have to be able to put up? And because we always have other uses for that cash,
Mhm.
right? So the question is this best use of our cash, and how much would be really required? Because
Yeah, what's the?
so at least for us, I know we are members.
You know what, that might be a question we don't want to discuss at this point. Again, that might be something that we're getting a framework. Let's talk about framework. If we're gonna talk about numbers, let's take numbers.
No, I understand the sensitivity on numbers, but I'm just getting a sense of magnitude of numbers, right?
Vivek, let's not talk any numbers, right? Because I don't think that's appropriate at this point. Let's understand. I'd love to see that number, but I think that's something we can discuss. Dave, I know your comfort level, but, with discussing numbers, but
It's here.
well,
on the
that's-
Slides.
that's how much is being spent in the region.
Oh,
But
that's
so my question is, what would,
Yeah, just.
yeah, so see, like, we're talking budgets today, right? So so at some time, it would be helpful for RMLD to understand what is what is going to be the ask, right? And it's just good for us to be aware of it.
Are we talking
100%.
six, obviously it's 7 figures, right? Is it multiples? Is it much greater than that? And that can get scary. So
So what will help is I go further into the structure of ENET and we can see how you come to those conclusions. How I bring a project to the board and then the board decides whether to move forward with the project or not. But scale, right? I mean, there's a limitation on how much 10 municipal systems are going to put into a project. You could think about the Watsons. They're $90 million or $110 million. You're a participant in that, right?
What was that again?
The Watson generation units, right? That was like
Okay.
like $110 million. You're a participant in that. I think there's only like 4 or 5 participants in that one. So there's projects out there.
So I think just the fact that you have 10 entities
Yeah.
that are your sponsors, I guess there's some common sense there that, if needed, these people can produce the cash, right? I mean,
That's correct.
right? So
You would imagine that you have this discussion about a project and the board, everybody's sitting around the room that hears about the project, going to have to decide what is the appropriate level of participation for the group or for themselves. Somebody could participate at a greater level than somebody else. It doesn't have to be an equal distribution. It is the decision by the board to participate and then who at what level wishes to participate. And that would be, we're all MLPs by nature are risk averse. So this is about a fiscal hedge against the costs that are coming to you anyways. And is the value proposition there to be participating?
Yeah. So I agree with Bob that, this is not the right forum to get that information, but I think it's helpful for us to have that.
Happy to come back and have in an executive session, have a discussion about.
And I
you know.
think we've had a lot of E&E updates, so I'm not in a hurry for more right now.
Oh, come on.
I just said you don't want to do anymore.
Like we can go to after the first year. But yeah, so I mean, happy to come back, and talk about that for sure. Okay, next slide. Sure. Yeah. Structurally, governance, ENET is composed of board of directors in our transmission operating agreement. There's one director from each Class A member, and those Class A members right now are parties that contributed to the startup. Chairman of the board may vote as a director in accordance with the rules, or they're ex officio. Right now, the chairman of the board does vote as a director. The executive director, that's me. I may vote as a director as well, but I do not. I am an ex aficionado. I don't vote. I'm there to provide content for the discussion, make sure we make notices, bring proposals forward, update on what we're doing.
Who's the chair?
Right now, Kevin Shaughnessy from Norwood is the chair.
Okay.
Yeah. The chairman is appointed by ENET under our operating agreement. We have a management agreement with ENET. ENET is a standalone entity. But we have a management agreement that is the employee right here, the only one right now. It is for me, it's been the last couple of years setting it up, putting the structures in place, and then going out and having conversations on participation in projects. Yes.
So as a Class A member, are board members allowed to participate personally in the projects? Or does that just come through their shares?
Great question. We're going to cover that, but it's a great question. So each Class A member can sit on the board. It's a general manager equivalent of an MLP. When we get to deciding on, I bring a project. Well, let's go there. I bring in a potential project to the board for consideration. You know, we've had a few conversations with different entities. We talk about what it is, the shape of it, what's it look like, is it a good project for the region? Is it something we have interest in? And we decided, let's move forward, have that conversation. Let's imagine you get further on down the road with the counterparty and they're saying, well, let's get into term sheets. Let's talk about your level of participation. Then the board would say, okay, we're willing to participate at X level. Not everybody has to participate. It is purely a voluntary participation. If 9 out of 10 want in, 9 out of 10 want in. And if 9 of the 10 are in, there could be a different distribution of costs that they decide to take on in that project. So this is strictly an opportunity. Here's the projects. The board says, yes, it's a good project. Even when the board says it's a good project, everybody may not want to take a piece of that. They may be in another project. They may be just not ready to go at this point in time. It's purely a decision they make at that point in time. And to what level they wish to participate.
So they can participate personally if they so choose
That is correct.
through the partnership that.
They can participate in a project of their choosing. Yes. Yeah. It's purely we don't want to set up a thing where we're like, hey, we just got into a project and you're in. No, we want everybody to have the say in the matter as we move forward projects.
And we've done that as Reading Light and other projects with E&E.
Certainly, with a lot of the power supply projects, absolutely. You know, we're party to some pretty big solar projects in the region that we are fully E&T customers fully subscribe it for long term. So there's been, you know, if you think about it, some of the projects you're in are probably contribution levels of what you would do in this framework. Same thing with 40-year versus a 20-year payback. There's 10 Class A members right now. That it has grown. We started with 7 right out of the box. Braintree, Reading, Taunton, Middleborough, Westfield, Norwood. Littleton came on. Middleton came on. Hingham was on as the Class B, moved to a Class A, and then Holden came on. So we're at 10 right now as Class A members. Hingham came in as a Class B initially. What was the Class B? Class B is they didn't pay any startup. They could attend the meetings, couldn't vote, just following along to see if they wanted to participate. Eventually, Hingham says, yeah, we're Class A. They jumped in because we had some conversations going on that were of interest. And again, only the Class A members can vote. That's E&ET. Again, the overarching construct is to bring enough weight of enough systems to be able to participate in regional transmission projects. The current long-term transmission project RFPs out there, we could see an RFP on the storage as a transmission asset only. Those are 10, 30 megawatt grid scale storage projects that could come in 26 or 27. And then there's what's called the system efficiency network studies. Used to be called market efficiency studies. We never had one. But this system efficiency network is looking at boundary conditions on interfaces and where they identify significant losses, 4.3 million or greater, they test that against a solution. If the solution provides a benefit cost ratio of 1 or better, we should be indifferent to the spend. That can go into an RFP space, another opportunity to participate. I like that. It's a little smaller. It gives us a shot at different solutions. Yes, Vivek.
So just a question of the whole logic of doing this is to effectively reduce the cost of transmission in the ratepayers' bill, right? So the ratepayers are being charged at a certain time frame when they're using that service. And will the dividends also come out in the same time frame? Because to give a benefit, you need to be getting the savings.
So let's say RMLD is in a project. There's the project starts up, goes into construction phase. Then we have a COD. Project comes online. As you lead into the project development, you're putting capital in. And then when the project goes live for the next 40 years, you're getting a rate of return on any equity you put in 11.07%. If you took debt, it's your debt plus debt service you get back. But that revenue on your investment flows back to RMLD for its share of contribution. And that flows into your coffers to to manage you as you wish.
But whenever you get energy on that line, you get revenues on that line also. You get a return on that line at the same time.
You're not getting any any energy. This is strictly, you're paying for the infrastructure that keeps the region reliable.
Got it, right.
You're
Okay,
getting
you're not
paid.
getting energy, but
not-
just, but that line is in play. That line is in.
That
play.
line is part of the regional system. It is part of, it is part of what keeps us reliable. You do that right now, and the benefit you get today for your monthly RNS bill is you get a reduction in the capacity that the region buys, tie benefits. RNS customers support the regional transmission system. ISO, when it determines how much capacity each year the system must buy, the net installed capacity requirement, it gets to that number by using tie benefits, how much we can lean on control areas and emergency assistant, because you all pay for that through RNS. It's a natural benefit to us that they reduce the capacity requirement by the amount of neighbor support we can get during emergency conditions. Here, you would be getting that same benefit, but you would also be getting your rate of return on your equity and any cost of debt plus debt service.
What's the depreciation schedule for transmission lines?
Well, it's generally a 40-year asset. I don't remember the formula off the top of my head, but it's a 40-year asset that
It could be, I mean, straight line depreciation would be over 40 years.
could, yeah, exactly right. Yes. And so something to consider is, and this is important to consider, is much like your involvement in the Hydro-Quebec phase 1, phase 2 as an equity sponsor. So you have your initial development and implementation, and then the lines great for 30 years, and then you have to start replacing components and the asset condition upgrades I just mentioned. You would inject capital again, and that would start that cycle all over with those investments. That's exactly what's going on with you with the phase 1, phase 2. You're paying for currently the insulator replacement project on that line, and contemplation of a future builds on that facility to take into the next 20 years, because you're in a 20-year agreement right with them right now. But it's the same idea.
And one more question on the capital stack with equity and debt and the rate of return. Can you go over that again? How the rate of return is equity. It's assets under ownership.
That's correct.
The debt component is not capitalized.
It is part of the project, but you get the return of your debt plus your debt service. Doesn't get the 11.07 ROE.
Right. But the equity, all equity infusions get the 11.
That's correct. That is correct.
It's not a weighted average that comes back to.
It is all equity gets 11%. I could send you the tariff sheets, but it is the 1107s on the rate of return. In fact, ironically, you all have been fighting the rate of return for about 8 years in a federal proceeding to drive it lower. It's been moved a few times, but it's now 1107. That's the current rate of return. It's the same rate of return, frankly, that you're getting on your capital investments in the phase 1, phase 2 projects.
Dave, how competitive are these Q-tip projects? I could imagine with that type of return, that is a very attractive market for anybody. Exactly. And how is there any type of weighting for when you're participating as a municipal? Are we delivered a higher ranking, or is there anything like that? Because you can see that I'm shocked that we're even allowed to participate at those rates of return.
So
who wouldn't want to have a guaranteed 11%?
It's a great question, and that's, and I'm gonna say this, that's why we've been held out, is because the incumbent transmission developers didn't have to let us participate, right? If today ISO runs a need analysis for, let's say, Southwest Connecticut, and it says, oh, we've got to upgrade these lines, pull new conductor, and that report comes out today, and the need is within 3 years, it never goes to bid. It's automatically awarded to the TO, and they do it as soon as per case. But now the states said, look, we want this as an RFP because it's out beyond 3 years. It's actually the current longer term transmission planning RFP, the COD for that must be CO commercial operation date by 2035. So it's far enough out. The states want a diversity of participants. And in fact, when the window closed on the last day of September, they got their submissions. There was 6 projects came in. 6 projects split between DC solutions and HVDC solutions. And that project has to increase the interface limits for Maine, South and New Hampshire Maine interface, each by a 1,000 or so megawatts. Has to build a 1,200 megawatt 345 kV switchyard in Pittsfield, Maine, to allow interconnection of 1,200 megawatts of terrestrial wind. Why? The states want to feed that clean energy down the coast. So that LRP has got 6 parties participating. 3 projects of AC, 3 projects of DC. It had a diversity of incumbent qualified transmission project sponsors, some new qualified transmission project sponsors, and then a mix of joint proposals that are in there. The range of those solutions, the proposals, is 0.96 billion to 4.04 billion, with 2 in about the 2.25 billion range. Pretty big projects, but you're right, it grabbed a fair amount of attention, and we're now underway in the region, not us, the ISO is analyzing those projects to select the winner. And how do they determine a winner? It goes to your point of public power involved. They select the winner at the end of the day. They look at the projects. Did it meet all the requirements of stipulated in the RFP? Did it provide additional benefits that were not in the RFP? It's great. It has to be measured against about 8 different criteria: production cost savings, losses savings, the lower cost of generation interconnections. There's a whole list of them. And then there's a whole bunch of non-technical Appendix A criteria that the New England States Committee on Electricity provided that ISO must evaluate against: reduction of carbon, who's involved, are they co-sponsored by other participants of interest? That would be us, public power. So there's a diverse set of technical financial review requirements and non-technical review requirements. At the end of the day, there'll be 1 project selected out of the 6 proposals, and it must, for ISO to recommend it moves forward, it must achieve a benefit to cost ratio of 1 or greater. Those financial evaluations, it must play it out that it's 1 or greater. If it's 1 or greater, the ISO says, states, we think you should move forward with this. And then NESCO would say, let's move forward. That is the solution. Let's move forward, whoever that winner is. And then we're off and running. Must be online by 2035. Alternatively, if no project has a BCR of 1 or greater, or the project that the states want is less than 1, then they could say, we still want to move forward because it does something we want it to do for us besides, transmission upgrades. And will now the states would say, oh, that project was, for simple math, that project was $1 billion. 600 million of that was stuff from a needs analysis, regular regional system planning requirements, and asset condition upgrades. That 600 million goes into the regular RNS monthly bill that's got to be done anyways. The other 400 million, the states will file it FERC under Section 205 of the Power Act, saying, look, we want to divide this cost up this way. State of Massachusetts will take the whole thing, or 5 of the 6 states will take the whole thing, or 3 of the 6 states. That's a separate matter. But this is a very big evaluation process. Not only does it have to meet the actual capability functionally, it must meet the RFP requirements, and then it must meet this BCR test, and then it gets a second set of evaluations that the states provide a little, they're not financial, they're more substantive in terms of carbon reductions and other things. Hopefully that's responsive to your question.
Yes, so it is a component of the
Yeah.
selection process. They
Yeah.
could say
There wasn't
BlackRock or Reading Light.
well, there was a
Well, you're looking to enter into a consortium, right, of
that's correct.
these projects. You're not.
Public
You're not
power in of
one-
itself is not big enough to build one of these himself. That is absolutely true.
so
It's
you're-
much
you're
like phase
trying
1,
to
phase 2.
network and figure out.
That is
ways
correct.
For MLPs in the greater consortium,
That is correct.
which would include a developer, I'm sure, and all the other sponsors, et cetera, et
The
cetera.
consortium could be made up of different entities. That is absolutely correct. And all with the same opportunity to inject capital and get the returns depending on, how they put it. That's correct.
Any other question? I have one. Sure. I'm new to this, as you know, and I'm trying to pick up as everyone's going forward. And I come from a completely different business. Is this something that I can read, like a disclosure statement of what this is really about, or a prospectus or something to give me more information besides the presentation?
I can send you the RFP. It's not very long. It's not very many pages. And then I can include some content as to what it is. So in this instance, this RFP we're speaking about is issued by the states, but ISO New England or the TARP has to administer it. And it is now closed, and I can describe what they're trying to achieve. And as you heard here, our discussion point is we're subject to those costs. We can't avoid those costs, and those costs are going up. And the cost of this project will be thrown into the hopper and recovered through that same mechanism. And the purpose of the E&T vehicle is to allow the members to go out, participate in that project, and use the rate of return above their costs as a way of paying down the exposure they have. It's a hedge. Yeah. So happy to provide Paul some information to share with you all.
It sounds like everyone is of course, more familiar than me, but I'd like to get up to speed.
And you should feel free to stop me at any time when I'm talking, now or in the future when you have me back. Really, it's a new space. And as we just highlighted, though, public power in and of itself would not put $2 billion, $4 billion, $1 billion to build these projects. We are looking to join a consortium, or in the future state, if we decide to move E&T to a Q-tip, a qualified transmission project sponsor, we could get there. But in the short run, we didn't need to. But yes, so thanks for the question. Happy to provide some material.
I quit saying Q-tip because Megan kept laughing at me.
We don't. We get into the whole other set of acronyms, squat spa, and all this type of stuff. It's like acronym world. It is. I have to remember what they are, but anyways, yeah, they live in the world of acronyms. But anyways, well, hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, no, I found it very informative. I'm sure everybody else did. But thank you very much, Dave. Appreciate your time.
When I started seeing the numbers, and then I asked Erica, how much conversation, has the board had over this? And it didn't appear to be that much. So I figured this is a perfect opportunity to kind of open everybody's eyes up to just magnitude and scope of what we are into.
Excellent. Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good to see everybody again. Look
Right.
forward to seeing you in the near future.
Yes.
All right. Great.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the capital budget for 2026 approval, attachment 2. You want to read the motion and then go over the data, or you want to go over the data and read the motion?
Let's go with it.
It's okay.
Okay, we'll go over the data first, the updates from the capital budget. And then the cab will read their motion, and then we'll go to the Board of Commissioners. So I don't know, everybody saw the email. I don't know, Patty, how you want to handle it? You want to just go over the updates that you provided? You want to? Yeah, well, I think Erin sent the email out. I wasn't too sure. I don't have my phone on me. Did anybody recall who sent the
Yeah.
email?
Maybe Erica.
Erica, did I?
Yeah.
Erica sent it. Okay. Erica and Erin.
Last week, it was, we recommended that we put additional money in the budget for the cost of service study, in which we did. We put another 50,000 into the GM outside services, budget.
Patty, if I may, so polled the various municipal like plan general managers, say, hey, who's done a cost of service study lately and what did it cost you? And that was the number that.
Yeah. Okay, so this affected the budget book pages 81 through 87. There was a,
It went up by 44.9. 44.9 K, not 50. That line item.
oh, notices everything. So, anyway, there was also discussion about the discrepancy between the net plant figures on one statement to the other. And we realized there was a number that was put in the wrong column on one of the statements, and that was actually the number that was projected for calendar year 25 total, and not the budget calendar year 26. So this correction and the update of the other years changed the ROR figures on page 81 in the budget book. And then going forward,
No, and it brought it down from 10 point something to 8 point.
to 8.84, I believe, yeah. Going forward, we'll ensure to sync the two statements before the budget is completed. There was also a question regarding the increase in health premiums, and there is going to be an increase of 13.5%. And we had already covered that in the budget with an assumed increase of about 14%. And then there was questions regarding the O&M decreases from projected to the budget, and they were explained by a greater amount of operating labor going to capital projects. I think that was it.
Are there any questions from anybody?
When we did talk about the CIS system, you asked her,
That's in the capital budget.
oh, okay, okay.
That's in the capital.
Okay. No further questions? Okay. You guys want to make a motion?
Okay, so, you did the motion. You guys have any questions? Jason, you comfortable with the budget? You gonna want it?
Move that the RMLD Citizens Advisory Board recommend to the RMLD Board of Commissioners the calendar year 2026 operating budget as presented on the recommendation of the interim general manager.
Second,
Second.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. David Rich?
I think I move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners on the recommendation of the RMLD Citizens Advisory Board approve the calendar year 2026 operating budget as presented on the recommendation of the interim general manager.
I'll second that.
A roll call vote, because being's remote.
Pam Deskalakis, aye.
Swanson, aye.
How would I?
Coulter, aye. Passes 4-0. Okay, moving over to the capital budget. All right. Are there any questions on the capital budget? I know,
Yes.
okay.
We had asked a question about the capital, the CIS project. And you want to just clarify what is being done about that project? Because I think there is a need to improve the whole system, and yeah. So could you just comment on that?
It was just a Paul, could you just recap? But it was like $400,000 request, right? I think that was the basis of, were you saying if that is enough money? Or is it?
It was just a line saying this will be a new improved system. So I just want to understand, because I think there is a need to improve the system. And so I just want to understand what all is going to be done about it. So I just want to understand more
I have a
about.
question, yeah, if you need the question. Yeah, the question you got?
I'll let Paul answer.
Okay. So Vivek had a series of questions about what were we hoping the new system was gonna do for us, all that kind of stuff, not specifically about you know, how much is 400 enough or is it not?
And like, we were not asking, what software are you buying and, why are you buying from this vendor? It was more a question of, yeah. So actually, why don't you read the questions? Sorry.
One second here. Okay, this. We've seen some issues in reporting the, budget and inconsistency of how new plan to determine communication. This is a challenge for many small organizations. It'll be good to understand how information is going to go into CIS and what is planned for training for folks using the new system. How long is it likely going to take for the new CIS system to be implemented and used effectively by RMLD?
So my response back to Vivek was that, as you know, we're in the mid, well, not the midst, we're getting ready to start installing the AMI meters. There are issues having the number of systems to talk to each other. Same folks that would be putting together the RFP for the new system are the same people who are working with various vendors to try and get the system to talk to each other. I didn't feel that we could do both of them well. And the fact that we have like 500 meters sitting here and we're kind of anxious to get started, I made a decision to hold off doing anything CIS system until we get this integration together, because you can only do so much at any given time. So I made a decision. I'm going to sit tight on this for a second as we get closer to getting these 4 systems integrated into AMI. Then we can kind of move to what do we want this new CIS system to do for us.
We're talking about just CIS, right? That's customer information system, also talking about FIS, financial information system.
Right, correct.
It's more than just the CIS. The CIS is your customer.
That everybody's has been using CIS.
Yeah.
app.
Yeah, the line item just said CIS, 400,000.
So, but this is helpful. So what are the 4 systems? You said 4. There's the financial integration system. There's the customer.
He's
integration
talking about CIS. I'm talking about AMI. There are 4 systems that need to talk to each other.
system. And those are,
I don't know the names off the top of my head.
They want to be the metering and meter data management software.
okay,
We have the AMI meters, and then we have the head end system as part of the AMI system. Then we have the MDM and the meter data management system. And then we have the billing system. Billing system is from the same vendor for the CIS. So actually, to be accurate, this new investment that we put in the budget shouldn't be CIS, it should be ERP.
Yeah, it's, yeah.
okay.
System. So it's not just CIS.
But it includes CIS, the customer information system.
Yeah, let
And
John give an
financial,
answer.
and financial information.
So one of the impetus to do this is the financial piece of our current ERP. The support for that is expiring by 2030. So we would be looking for a new system anyway.
So I think that exactly what Paul had said, the problems that we're running into is trying to get these disparate systems to talk to each other is one of the biggest problems that we have. Every time we try to do something with, we've got 16 or 17 different applications, different vendors. It's not a holistic system. It's incredibly inefficient. It's very labor and manual labor intensive that we spend a lot of time. It's prone to error when you have people, hand jamming in numbers and trying to figure out things. But like Paul said, right now we have to get the ability to do the billing, to roll out the meters, and then when we get a little bit of breathing room, then we certainly should, as quickly as we can safely do so, look at and evaluate, finish evaluating, and decide on a new system.
What you wanted for 2026?
Well, the thing, if I look at the timeline after talking to the vendors that we have talked to, it's going to be a multi-year. It's not going to be done at 2026. So that 400,000 is for 2026. It's going to go into 2027. But in the financial analysis, at least of one of the solutions, it's a wash. It's not going to cost us any additional money, over what we're spending, because you're going to be eliminating all these other applications to support for them, and then the infrastructure that we need to have to support those as well. So
So
it's
you talked to different vendors already?
We did, we talked to 3 different vendors. We had demos, and that's where it's still, we got some quotes back, but there's been no decision made on it. And, I don't know if it's gonna go to an RFP. If that decision, I guess Jason will be involved in that when he comes on board.
So that might be helpful if we saw an RFP, so we know what systems are included in the proposal. But right now, just seeing a line item CIS, 400,000 is kind of, it opens up questions.
Still in the budget for total amount of the account.
Right.
So we have to, even if this money doesn't get spent in 2026, you have to have funds available to award the bid to cover the cost of the biggest. So if they've got quotes back, I'm sure they're somewhere in that ballpark.
Right.
Maybe with a little bit of an adder for being a year out, and
It's a little different in the municipal world. If you're not familiar, yeah.
Oh, no, I'm okay with
Yeah.
400,000 personally,
Yeah.
but I just, in the meeting last week, last week, we talked about the accounting system. That wasn't in it, but somebody.
No, it's definitely,
somebody
there's
said
definitely a
that's
full
included
financial
in the
package
CIS.
there.
I just wanna know what's included in the CIS.
There's the outage management. We can get you a list of, without being like vendor specific, but it's purpose built for utilities just like us. You know, so it's a holistic solution. It's just about probably 95% of what we need. And, but we can get you a list of different items.
So what Paul said is that AMI goes first. And once the AMI is well on its way,
Well, the integration, not necessarily the, installation of
Right.
all these.
right, okay, once the integration of the software piece is underway, then you will undertake, then Jason will undertake the next step.
Retrofitting the new system back in after you've already done the integration?
No, so the integration that I'm talking about is the various components. Megan,
Yes, so the integration, so right now we have meter.
Megan, so sorry to interrupt you. We just need the mic.
So right now, there are 500 AMI meters on our property ready to be installed, but we cannot install those unless we can actually bill customers through those new meters. So what we have been working on for a while is to for the tankless meter reads to be transferred to the meter data management system, which we actually had. So for the MDM project, I think you've heard me talk about it in the past year or so. We started that the commissioning of that project last summer, and by this past February, we finished the phase 1 SAT. SAT is the system acceptance testing, which means the meter data management system is working because it's receiving all the reads from our current iTron and ETAN meters. They work fine. And then the second phase of the MDM project is to integrate with tankless meters. And tankless meters were just delivered, I think, at the end of August. So then Nick, our metering department, they started to put in some meters on our property so that I can create some reads. So we started the second phase of that integration sometime in September. And so the first part is for the meter reads to be transferred to MDM. It's all correct. Up till now, it's still not correct because the tankless meters, the meter reads, the missing reads were not corrected. So the MDM is not receiving all the meter reads. So the intent of using the MDM is to use the interval data to get to the total register reads. So the old way of getting the meter reads is just to do a register read. So if you get 2 and then you subtract one from the other, then you get your consumption and you bill on top of that. So there's a lot of nuanced issues that we're trying to deal with, both tankless and MDM. That's the first step. The second step, once MDM's receiving all the reads and can do all the calculation that matches the register reads, those data will become billing files that will go to the billing system, which is Cogsdale. Currently we use Cogsdale. And that's another piece of
integration. We don't know at this point. I'm pretty sure it's gonna take a while for them to actually receive the files and actually can do the calculation because they have to manipulate the rate template to be able to consume these new billing files. So that's the two big pieces of integration we have to really get done before we install the very first centerless meter on our customers.
Because we can't bill.
So you will retrofit the systems, but it's kind of the only way that you can.
It would probably be just from the MDM to CIS.
Right.
The other stuff would stay, you still have to do would stay. It would just be redo one, maybe one.
And they are the impetus for getting a new ERP is actually from the operations side where we heard. I'm not from the operations side, but the operations team has been struggling with the current system where half of the work is done manually, or because the different, we use SpryPoint, I think, some of the information cannot be really be connected to the what is it called, payroll system. So a lot of the data entry is done manually right now. So that was the other impetus for getting a new ERP. But I see John wanted to talk. Yeah, you need a.
Rich, just to go back to what you said about retrofitting and stuff, the newer, at least the solutions that we looked at, they're fully integrated, right? So you're buying it's a commodity product, right? You're not going to the vendor and saying, I want, this to do exactly this, exactly that. They have a product that's already been rolled out to other customers all over the country. Here's the product, here's their financials, here's their meter data management, here's their OMS. Because right now, all of our stuff is just all over the place, right? So the challenge of keeping everything running and then trying to add to it, I mean, it just draws out that timeline, and that's what I was referring to as it's labor intensive to try to operate like that. But I know what you're saying with retrofitting, but really, in my mind, what we would do is we'd stand up a parallel system. The database is the database. That's what the data. What's your data? It's the financial information, sure, but primarily for billing, it's the meter reads, right? So it's sharing the same data as the new system and the old system, the current system. Once everyone is trained up to speed on the new system, you go over to it. They're going to have a parallel.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's why at least this kind of detail is like, that was just one line. I just wanted to get some more color on this.
Okay. Are there any more questions on the capital budget? If not, I'll hand it over to you, Vivek.
Okay. Can you?
The Citizens Advisory Board recommend to the RMLD Board of Commissioners the calendar year 2026 capital budget as presented on the recommendation of the interim general manager.
Second. Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Would someone like to read the motion?
You want me to do it?
I'll do it. Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners, on the recommendation of the RMLD Citizens Advisory Board, approve the calendar year 2026 capital budget as presented on the recommendation of the interim general manager.
Second. All those in favor?
Gaskalakis, aye.
Thank you.
Swanson, aye.
Talbot, aye. Mr. Coulter, aye. Yes, 4-0. Wonderful. All right, on to the next item. Paul?
Yes, so I don't have too much, but I want to give the BOC a heads up. You're going to be getting via Adobe the IBEW contract to sign. Once that happens, then that kind of sticks a fork in that for the next 3 years, and those folks can get their raises because they haven't yet. So if you keep your eyes open the next couple of days for that, everybody in the IBEW would be very much appreciated.
Happy Christmas.
Hey.
Happy Christmas.
Oh, good.
And basically that's the, I was gonna talk about the AMI integration, but we kicked that horse pretty well dead.
Yep.
We've ran it over, backed up a couple of times, so
You're welcome.
thank you for that. I'll send you. That's it for me.
Okay. All right, moving on to scheduling. Upcoming meetings, Wednesday, December 17th. is the next one on the schedule.
Oh, you had a couple of meetings between now and then, don't you think, Bob?
No,
And
No.
just by way of useless information, 8-0 so far this year.
No.
Yes.
Stop. That counts.
8-0.
That's
I was
gotta,
General manager in him for 10 years. I don't know if I had 80.
that's gotta include
10 years.
committees and,
Meeting.
lunch order.
Folks had to get paperwork out for.
Really?
80?
No, that's, that,
8-0. Cause it seemed to me like, man, we.
Contract.
like 79.
I think we did.
This year.
it's because we get paid by the
We get
meeting.
paid for the meetings.
What's that?
One meeting,
Meeting?
yeah, there you go. One meeting right there.
There you go.
Two meetings right there. Yeah, fabulous. But no, that's a lot of work by everybody
Yeah.
here and, end result. Right in here and right there and so, and everybody in the room, it's at the support network here and the team, again, can't say enough about how seamless it is. So we get data, we come back, we have the information, we ask, it shows up magically. So it's a great, well, it for us, magic. Yep. So, all right, so no issues with the schedule coming up. Do we, I know we set up a couple other, did we set January?
Nope.
Do we want to set January?
We can. I'm not available on Wednesdays.
That was gonna be my big thing, so. We're gonna have, ideally, I'd love to have, every month, we do it on a Wednesday, that's just. Not Wednesday, but any consistent day of the week,
Yeah.
Exactly. It looks like if one of you can't do Wednesdays and one can't do Thursdays, Monday, Tuesdays. might be-
I'm Tuesday, I'm more inclined for a Tuesday than a Monday. I don't want a Monday meeting.
Yeah.
But, okay,
I don't know, Jason, if you have a
Tuesday is preferable for me too.
Pam?
Yeah, Tuesday would be fine.
Okay,
third Tuesday, fourth Tuesday. For
Doesn't
January?
really matter to me.
Any particular week in a month better.
I would,
Only
I
because we
would-
may have a new general manager at that time.
yeah,
Jake.
so I'd say at least the second week of January. Not January 4th. I'm not up for January 4th.
No, the 19th is a holiday.
13th.
Sorry, what was that?
Either the
January
Tuesday,
13th.
the second or third week.
Okay, so the 20th or the 27th for January.
Is, someone said, what's the holiday?
President's Day.
No, I mean,
On the-
that's the 19th. Oh, so it would be, that's the 19th. Okay, so we could either do the,
20th or the third.
The
Yeah.
13th is the second.
Oh,
Martin
sorry,
Luther
I'm
King, yeah,
thinking
they get-
third of fourth.
Yeah.
You don't want to do the second week?
Let's do the second
Yeah.
week.
I mean, the one thing we do have to do, and then we'll get out of your way, is goals, right? With the kid, that's the kind of
Yeah.
big one for January.
Yeah.
So that might be, or do you want us to give you 3 weeks rather than 2 weeks to settle in? Okay, fine.
You know, think over here, let's get through.
All right, enough said.
yeah,
Enough.
okay. So if that one's okay on the 20th of January, 2026.
And what time are we liking? We like 6, do we want to go earlier?
6 is good time to get people here out of work and through traffic and.
Six
is
is good. I prefer 6 to 7.
Yeah, me too.
I heard to 7, so I'm gonna try that.
6 to 7, 60-minute meetings.
Yeah, 6 to 7.
We're gonna have Bob run the meeting. 'cause
That's up
this
to the
is going
chair.
Right by.
All right, so next meeting will be January 20th. Joint meeting, and we'll pick the next one after that. We'll go.
Okay.
Because I think we might have to have a couple polls. We're way behind on housekeeping type stuff, but we've been very busy, so we might have to do 2 in February or pick up an extra one. 84, 85.
You wait at 80 pretty
Yeah,
quick.
yeah, exactly. Okay, all right, so that's good. And then the schedule will be Rich and Pam, AP and payroll in December. Myself, AP, and Ray will be payroll.
Meaning I'll do a proposed, 26.
Okay, excellent. And Pat, if you did not see Patty's note, anybody did not see Patty's note about the timing of Thanksgiving week, so that will,
You also-
So just be aware. So if you need anything, I know, I think, Erica has our cell phone number, so if you need something approved, I would say, shoot a text, it's like, yes, do it today by noon, please, and then that way it'll get done, because I know we're all using our email, but some of us are more responsive than others. So, but that would be good. All right, excellent.
Okay. Can you get a motion to adjourn?
Move that the RMLD Citizens Advisory Board adjourn regular session, roll call vote required.
Okay, all in favor?
Jason, aye. Jim Woods, aye.
Vivek Soni, aye.
Charlie Goose, right? Thank you. Okay,
Move that the RMLD Board of Commissioners adjourn regular session.
Second.
those in favor? Roll call.
Gaskalakis, aye.
Watson, aye.
Talbot, aye.
All right, thank you, everybody. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Excellent.
Thank you. Good
Thanksgiving.
night.
Happy holidays. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.